Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you a very special painting tutorial. So Games Workshop very kindly sent me out the new Warhammer commemorative series Goff Rocker. This is not the miniature that I was expecting to come out as the Christmas special, but I can't say that I'm in any way, shape or form disappointed. So I'm going to show you guys how to paint this guy up. I go into a little bit more detail than normal as this is a commemorative model. I really wanted to put the extra effort in and make this model look as nice as possible. So stick around and enjoy the video. And here is the beautiful Goff Rocker himself. After I got him constructed, I sprayed him black and then gave him a Zenith of Grey Seer. Perfect place to start with our contrast base coats, which is what we love to do on the channel. The first thing I'm going to do is of course start with his beautiful orc skin, and contrast orc flesh seems like the most reasonable place to start. So we're going to get into that and get a nice clean coat of orc flesh contrast all over the skin on this miniature. I decided when I was building this guy that I was going to take his finish to a more retro cartoony style of skin. I want him to be quite bright, quite vibrant, really stand outish. Because obviously this miniature has no rules. It doesn't belong in an army. It's not going to be stomping across a battlefield. Its whole purpose is to sit on a shelf looking cool. So obviously I wanted to stand out as much as possible. So hence the toxic green skin that we will get to later on in this video. I enjoy taking goblins up to that kind of bright and crazy level, so it was fun taking an orc up to that level for a nice change. When doing a model like this, I do tend to try and be a little bit more careful with my contrast. I don't want to just blob it on. I want to be careful not to hit any of the other parts, as I will be doing all of the base coats in this miniature apart from metallics with contrast. And obviously because they are see-through, you can see whatever contrast is underneath. You want to be careful. Black Templar was used to block in all of the black leather that this guy is wearing, so I went for his pants, his vest and his top hat. I decided not to do his big stompy boots in black leather, although it is on the box black, and it would make a little bit more sense, but I just thought it was just too much black, so I decided to go for some big brown leather stompy boots. We'll get to that in a bit later. Even with those two colors on, he's already kind of starting to come together. I love when that happens. Such a cool miniature. From here we went over to Gore Grunt of Fur, and this was for all of the straps and belts and all those bits and pieces across the model. He's got a bandolier holding bullets. Obviously he's got a strap holding his guitar. And of course his big stomping boots are going to get a coat of the Gore Grunt of Fur contrast. Apologies at this stage, the camera once again likes to look at my hand more than the thing I'm painting. That happens when the model has muted tones like blacks and kind of greens. My hand seems more exciting to the camera than the model. This was another great way of breaking up all of the colors on this model, was the to have all of the belts and buckles and stuff, which is of course very rock and roll. From here we moved over to Fleshed Hair's Red. This is another change I decided to make to the box art. They had a white guitar. I prefer the look of a red guitar. And while I was at it, I basically decided that the two colors from the guitar and the squig are going to be exactly the same. His squig amp and his guitar are going to be made of the same material, whatever that means. So we gave the squig a coat of Fleshed Hair's Red as well. And all the steps that we did layering up the guitar is exactly the same steps we're going to do with the squig. You might not see all those steps on the squig in the video, but just know if you do end up following along with this one, all the stages of red do it on the squig as well. There's something about a red guitar, it's just so cool. I, as a human being, could not play the triangle with any sort of rhythm, so music really isn't my forte. Volupus Pink, I use this to just go inside of his mouth and get all over his tongue and stuff like that. It's a really nice color to base coat the gobs of monsters and stuff. I've used it quite a lot for that. And there's lots of really nice pinky colors that are great for highlighting that later on. Lead Belcher was used for some of the metallic parts on this miniature. Obviously he's got steel toe capped boots. There is some buckles, but all of the ones that are basically like skull motifs and the head of his grenade microphone we're not going to paint in with the silver, because that is of course going to go the bronzy gold, which is basically a direct copy from the box art. of the bullets and shells, and his bandolier also got a coat of the silver paint. And there was quite a lot of the guitar that was also silver. So just take your time, find all those bits and pieces and get a nice neat coat of silver on those. From there we move over to the Balthasar Gold, and this is for all the other metallic parts on the miniature. So like I said, those skull motifs which make up his kind of belt buckle, his knee pads, and in his top hat, all got a nice coat of that gold paint. And of course the head of his microphone. We did leave most of the microphone, well not most of it, but all of the like deep recesses black. We just painted the kind of raised up areas of the microphone with the gold. And I think this as a choice worked out really well. This would be a very cool commemorative series if they brought out kind of the drummer next and bass player, you know, that kind of thing. And at the end of it all, you would have this kind of cool model collection of band members. I would quite like that. Give them an excuse to make a gnarly stage, or maybe one mounted on the back of a battle wagon. Seraphim Sepia was used as a shade for the entire miniature, so every single bit of this model got a coat of Seraphim Sepia. It shades all the colours perfectly and gives us a really nice point to layer up from. While the shade was drying, I decided to base the miniature, and although the model has no rules, I did decide to base it to match my orc army. So when I put it on the same shelf as him, he matches in quite nicely. And this is the model as it sits after shade has dried. I think it looks pretty cool as it is. It's a really nice like canvas starting point to the layering process. It's an exciting place to go from. So from here it's going to try and do the skin in its bright tones. So we're going to start with Warpstone Glow. I have always enjoyed layering up orc faces. They are so like emotive, expressionable. You know how they're feeling by all the lines on their skin, which makes it a super easy thing to layer up. Sometimes humans can be a little bit more expressionless, and sometimes you kind of guess where the highlight is supposed to go. I never found that with an orc model. So I'm going to stay with a more of like a little line kind of style of highlight as opposed to big overarching streaks. I want it to look a little bit rough and ready, which is of course what an orc skin should look like. And obviously this is only the first of two highlights on the skin. We're going to jump up to a much brighter color in a moment. And that's going to bring us more to that kind of cartoony retro style orc skin that I've been really looking forward to painting. So that is it after the Warpstone Glow. From here we're going to jump straight up to Moot Green. And we're basically going to do the exact same step we did before, but just a little bit less. So all the same area is going to be hit. We're going to leave some of that Warpstone Glow behind. This is just going to be for all the kind of sharpest points or more raised points across the miniature. So obviously these guys are slabs of muscle, so there's like bulging biceps and all their neck muscle traps and stuff are on show. So those are all get highlighted with the Moot Green. Just take your time. Don't go overboard. And try not to hit anything else, because this is the last layer of skin that we're going to be doing apart from all of the scars across his body. As you can see, I'm using quite a fine pointed brush and I'm just using the tip of it to layer up this orc's face. I feel like painting this again. I'm like holding my breath as I record the voiceover as if I'm painting it right now, which is what I did when I was trying to be as careful as possible. I would love to know in the comments below how many of you guys have actually ordered up this piece. How many of you actually got it? And do you have any crazy plans for yourself? A friend of mine is already planning on trying to make it into some sort of band. She's going to get multiple of them. His nostalgia has kicked into overdrive for this miniature. So as you can see, the difference between the face and the body now. So that's what we're going to try and achieve across the rest of this piece now. And really give it that cartoony pop look. When the face and skin is all done, we're going to go over to Baneblade Brwon, and this is going to be the base coat for his teeth. Very quick, he's got some sharp pointed teeth, and I got a coat of Baneblade Brwon on those. And then from there, we're just going to jump straight up to use Shafty Bone and give the tips of those teeth a little highlight. Being super careful. At this point I was supposed to paint his nails too, or at least I thought I was. I was going to do the same thing, Baneblade Brwon, use Shafty Brwon, but it turns out he's got black nail polish all over his model, so they would have to be done later. Pink Horror was used to highlight in the tongue of the model and the inner mouth. This is once again a stage where you just got to be careful. If you wanted to, you could probably have done this stage before the teeth, therefore if you accidentally hit the teeth you could clean up the mistakes. I wasn't smart enough to do that. Maybe you guys can follow my footsteps and just reverse those two stages. Corvus Black was used to layer up all of the black leather on the miniature with the touch of grey, and it really does highlight black really nicely. Of course, this is a background colour. When someone picks up this model to look at, they're not going to be looking at the black parts. Especially with the amount of kind of wicked details on this. You're going to be looking at the guitar, face, the squig, amp squig, I believe he's called. This model really is starting to come together. This took a lot longer to paint than I was expecting. Obviously I was enjoying myself and I really wanted to give you guys something a little bit more special than my regular paint jobs. I got a dark red and I base coated all of the scars across his body, which is actually quite a lot of them. This orc clearly did a lot of fighting, has been in a lot of mosh pits, and he bears his scars quite proudly. So a nice deep red, I think it was corn red, and then back up to the Screamer pink kind of color, or the Pink Horror. Just add a really tiny touch of a highlight to the tops of these scars, just to make them stand out from the skin, make them pop a little bit. They are quite a nice feature of the model, and it wouldn't be as good to have them at just a shade of green as an old scar, kind of, you wouldn't notice them or see them. Model is looking nice. It's time now to move on to layering up the guitar and the squig. So the first thing we're going to do is go for Mephiston Red. And layer up all the guitar and the squig, leaving that shaded down contrast red in all the recesses and crevices. This is once again one of those really key features of the model that people will be paying attention to when they look at your paint scheme. So this is the kind of piece you want to spend a little bit more time on and do as nice a clean job as you possibly can, and your effort will be rewarded. Going around all the metallic parts, you're going to have to be very careful. There is actually quite a lot of detail put into the guitar. From there we move on to Sunz Scarlet. We're basically going to do exactly the same stage, but like I said before, just a little bit less, a little bit further away from all the detail, leaving the recesses a little bit darker. Part of me thinks that one side of the guitar should be maybe have been bladed. Then you could have given him some rules that it's a new chopper and thrown him in as the boss of a knob squad or something. I thought would be pretty cool. Everyone falling around the rock star in the battlefield. But that's just my bizarre need to have models need to do something in a game. Once again, taking my time, just enjoying the process. It was such an enjoyable miniature to paint. I don't feel like you needed to do any sub-assembly either to get them painted. If I could go back, I might leave the left hand off holding the microwave as it was holding the microphone, as it did obscure a little bit of the left side of his face and made it a little bit harder to highlight. I did manage to get in, but some people who are better painters than me are going to put a really nice paint job on this. They might want to leave that part off. As you can see, I'm layering up the squig at the same time as the guitar, really making it pop. I wonder what kind of crazy mech boy came up with the amp squig. Evil Sunz Scarlet and Wild Rider Red were then mixed together, mostly Wild Rider Red, to use as the final highlight on all of the red parts. That goes for the squig and all of the sharp edges and lines on the guitar. Obviously the guitar has a few chips and stuff taken out of it, so I went in with that as well. Mornfang Brown was used to layer up all of those brown leather straps. This is one of those stages, like I said, people aren't really going to be paying attention to the straps on these things, so a really quick Mornfang Brown layer job, and it looks absolutely stunning. Same thing across the boots. Lead Belcher was then used to layer up all of the metallic parts on this miniature. That goes for all of the gold and silver parts. Just like before, it's almost like a little cross-etching style. It's just a little sharp touches on the end of the brush on all the kind of pointed areas of the gold, and it works as a beautiful highlight. On the silver parts, it's just a traditional highlight on the more raised parts. This does give it a really nice kind of brassy gold look, which I think suits the Goff Rocker pretty well, and matches the box art to boot. Of course, things like the strings on the guitar and all those other bits and pieces got a quick highlight as well, but a very careful one. The last thing I do is want to fill in those strings with silver paint and ruin that beautiful aesthetic. From here we moved on to Uriel Yellow, and we painted in the eyes of the squig. It's one thing I did forget to film while I was layering up the red on the guitar and the squig. I did also paint in the orc's eyes in the same scheme, giving it that traditional red beady eye on an orc. But for the squig we went for yellow. Croxagore Scales was used to add the kind of patinaed look to all the gold parts on him. Very quickly in over the gemstoned eyes and any of the little nooks and crannies. It was a very quick step, but it did add a nice touch to the miniature. And with that, the final result, honestly I think the lighting is a bit off on the 360 here. He is much more bright and vibrant than this last shot is going. It's a little bit disappointing. So I hope you guys check out my Instagram and stuff for some better high quality pictures of the final result. And you also too get your Goff Rocker and enjoy it immensely. Okay guys, and there we have it, one commemorative Goff Rocker painted up to a slightly higher standard than I normally do on the channel. If you did like me painting to a slightly higher standard, make sure you let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'll do a couple more of the commemorative series miniatures and take them a step further than I normally do in my videos. If you did enjoy it, make sure you drop it a like. If you have any questions about anything I did in this video or any other video, put it in the comments below and I will get back to each and every one of you guys. If you liked what I did a lot and want to support me even further, there's two main ways you can do that. One, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It would mean the world to me to make you a part of the Mediocre Hobbies family. And the second way to do that is, of course, become a member of my Patreon. There's a link to that below. With that, you'll get access to a bunch of different rewards, including a private Discord server where you can converse with me on a daily basis and get involved in the different community-led events that I have. Thank you guys so much for watching the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.